My name's Jimmy, and I sing in Polar Bear Club.
So you've been touring for a little more than a year to support Clash Battle Go Fly.
Mm-hmm.
You did Warped, did a European tour right after that. Was there any highlight show or favorite place you played during that album cycle?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think so. Probably, and I probably won't be able to think of it, but the album cycle has been long. We've done a lot of touring off the record. The first tour was really memorable, though. It was a headlining tour in October, and the group of bands was just so good. It was us and Balance and Composure and Fireworks and Make Do and Mend, and then Such Gold for a part of it too. And it just was like one of those tours, like this tour, just where it's just like cool a lot of bands that I like in one place, and a lot of kids come out when that is the case. So that tour was really good. Warped Tour was generally a highlight too, because Warped Tour is so amazing and ridiculous that the people you're there with, you just bond with. You have this just you get into this schedule of seeing people every day and hanging out with them every day, and it's the show's over, let's set up our lawn chairs in the parking lot and hang out and grill food and drink beers. It's just like this awesome summer camp. So Warped Tour is always a highlight.
Compare sunburns.
Yes.
Talk about the blow up that you have in your trailer.
Yeah.
Hopefully
yes.
not. But
Hopefully not, but sometimes yes. Yeah.
You're on the Flatliners 10th anniversary tour. You guys are only a few years away from that landmark yourselves.
Oh my God.
What kind of perspective does being in a band for that long and having that kind of experience give you?
It's so hard to say because you almost blink and it happens. I mean, we've been a band since 2005. We've been touring full time probably only since 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like we're right in the middle of. And some bands would consider us like old road dogs, and then some bands would consider us fresh and new.
Yeah.
And we're kind of right in the middle. I kind of don't have perspective. And also, we started touring at a transitional time. A time when this influx of bands were starting to tour and not really know what we were getting into, but we just sort of went out to get into it. And I think we're still finding our perspective on that. It's nice though, because we all have we started in this transitional phase for the music industry, and it kind of gives us this attitude of just we don't care. We just want to be having a good time with our friends.
No expectations.
Yeah, set your expectations low, I guess, because they always will go there, and then you'll be mentally prepared. But also, I was talking to someone about this last night. I mean, we're all friends with all these bands, and I think that when you come to see us play with bands like Menzingers and Flatliners, you can tell, as an audience member, you can tell that all these bands are friends with each other, and it almost makes it a little bit. It makes it better for the audience member, and in turn, is better business. So
They'll have each other's backs, or
yeah, but also there's positive energy in the room, and people like to see friends on stage, and it feels good for us too. So in turn, out of this downturn of industry that's bonded us all together and given us this sort of fuck all attitude and let's just be friends with each other and have a good time and play our hearts out. In turn, it's better for business because people are smart in the crowd. They can see that you're there because you love it. Because everyone knows about the music industry. Everyone knows how little money we make doing this. They know that we're here because we like doing it, and we need to do it to an extent. And they don't take that with a grain of salt. They respect that, and they're behind that too.
So you cited influences in past interviews like Jimmy Eat World, Braid, and Get Up Kids. Is there any genre of music or band that you listen to that might surprise people?
I listen to a lot of rap. It doesn't really, I don't know if it finds its place in Polar Bear Club, but, I listen to all sorts of different crap. I listen to whatever, I'm really into that Frank Ocean record right now. That record is... Oh, someone's dead. Sorry. I think that record is really, really beautiful and just... I was talking about this last night, actually. We were talking about bands, and there's so much rehashing that goes on. There's so much era worship or genre worship that goes on in modern bands and touring acts. That's why people respond so much to that Frank Ocean record, because it is a new voice. It is taking a format and progressing it and sending it forward, as opposed to just sort of rehashing its influences. He incorporates his influences, but expands upon them as well. And that is a big influence to me personally.
Yeah.
Finding
It's so rare to do that. So.
it really is, and it's hard to do. And that's what I like about the Flatlanders being around for 10 years, and I like that maybe we'll be around for that long too, because I don't know if you're into stand-up comedy at all, but you read interviews with comedians and they talk about how long it takes them to find their voice.
Yeah.
And some of them it takes 7-10 years of touring as stand-ups full-time to figure out what it is they're trying to say. And I think that's somewhat true of bands too. It takes that long to figure out exactly what it is you're trying to say. I think you start from a place of, and this is true of us, we started from a place of, we want to make this type of music that we're not hearing represented in the conscious of the mainstream or the hardcore scene or whatever. We want to play music that we're not hearing. We don't want to be complaining about what bands are doing. We're going to go out and make music that we want to hear. It starts there, and then it takes a while to get from there to figuring out what your point of view is and what it is exactly you're trying to say. I think I know what we're trying to say, but it's not as sharp as I wish it were. And as time goes on, it gets a little sharper. But it's exciting too, because it feels like, cool, we're going to hit a stride soon. We're going to transcend something soon. Maybe not though, but it takes time to sharpen your worldview. You can't last 10 years like the Flatliners just getting up on stage and doing it. You have to be smart, and you have to have objective, whether it be,
That's a really great answer.
artistic or, it's all about objective and point of view and finding your voice and not trying to use the voice of your influences, but use that aesthetic and maybe expand upon it. I sound high and mighty saying it too, but I don't even know what mine is yet, all the way. It's still ambiguous to me, and I think that has been a flaw of our band, is we're still finding our voice. But that's what's cool about being out here doing it, because that's how you learn.
Yeah.
That's how you figure it out. You play to all these people, and you play every night, and then all of a sudden, you're like, you just find it. But it's complicated, and it takes time.
I think that really goes across all kinds of art, really, when you think about it. Like where are you as a filmmaker? Like what do you want to say?
Painting. I mean, you look at like great filmmakers, and you look at and it's the same with TV too. Look at the first series of your favorite TV show, and it's nothing compared to what you love about. I mean, look at the first season of The Simpsons. Or even the first season of Walking Dead, which I went back and watched a couple months ago, and it was a different show. It was a different show. The characters were completely different, and they were finding their footing. Same with filmmakers too. I mean, a filmmaker I'm really into right now is the singer of Lucero's brother is a filmmaker. His name's Jeff Nichols, and he's an amazing filmmaker. His first film is called Shotgun Stories, and it's really a wonderful, beautiful film. But he's still finding his footing. His second film is Take Shelter, and he found it, and it's a masterpiece. But it's cool to watch the progression, and it makes you realize, you just have to go out and do it. You can only intellectualize so much before you start. You have to sharpen your instincts and your emotions.
Your skills to boot.
Same with photography, writing, filmmaking, sculpting, painting, comedy, whatever, radio shows, interviewing, it's the same sort of thing. You just have to do it. So many bands will ask, like, can you give me advice? Or like, I'm starting out in a band, what advice can you give me? And the only advice you can really give someone is just go do it. I can't teach you the things I learned, because you won't learn them if I just tell them to you. You have to go learn them.
The way you work might not work exactly the same way for somebody else.
Right.
Like you're dealing people.
Very
and
true.
that works for them,
There's no science. If
No.
there was, everyone would do it.
You released a music video for Screams and Caves a while ago. I've noticed that you guys have always had like really interesting videos, really different videos than most punk bands. Like the aesthetic is completely like left of center
Yeah.
than like just the gritty performance video, you know. So like, what makes you do videos like that instead of?
Well, it's a challenge because you don't want to. I mean, you have to take some pride in your name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to release something that you're not proud of because it represents you. You know, I mean, if we put out a video that, you know, was a total failure, there's a list of people that you could blame for it not going well or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's really your fault. It's really perceived, at least, as being your thing and your failure. So you need to take some pride in that, and you have to fight to do things like that. Like, you have to argue and
like
fight.
Labels or amongst each other?
Yeah, management, labels, you know, directors. But, you know, some people externally, you just, and this is goes back to what we were saying before, sharpening your point of view. You have to know what it is you want to say and what you want to do, because you can't argue nothing. You can't be like, I don't know, I just don't want it to be like this. Well, why? I don't know. You have to have a reason. You have to have a point of view that's clear to you, an objective that's clear to you. It all sort of comes back full circle to that. But that's really where it came from, just fighting to do something that you're at least proud of yourself, to have your name on.
So, this is a little bit of a weirdo question. You said in an interview before the weirdest thing that you've seen on tour was a huge guy handcuffed to a little person outside a strip club.
Yeah.
So after that experience, what's something weird that you'd like to see on tour?
Something weird that I'd like to see?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What would just tickle you?
Well, that tickled me pretty. That was... sometimes like moments in life like play out more comedically like than you could ever write or make up, and that was one of those moments where like the timing was just like perfect. I'd love to see that again, and then I'd know that there's a true glitch in the Matrix if I ever saw that sort of thing again. I don't know. You can't plan it. You can't like, because if I say it, I can't even fathom something like, I could never in a million years have sat down and told you one day I'm going to see a giant man handcuffed to a midget wearing a gray jumpsuit walking out of a strip club, pull me aside and say, don't go into that strip club, it's fucking shit. I could never have planned that, and I just like, it happened to me and I just laughed. So I don't know. I put it to you, universe, to get weirder than that.
What are your plans for the coming year? I hear you've been working on a fourth full-length album. How's that been doing?
It's been good.
Yeah.
We're really just taking our time with it, you know. Like, we sort of had a long album cycle with the last record.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like we had much more to do. Yeah, we could go out and like hit all those markets again to sort of make money. But we just don't really see much of a point in hitting a city like 5 times on one record. So we're just hanging, doing little tours here and there, and working on a record. And I don't know when we're going to record it, when it's going to get released. When it's done and ready to go, that's when it'll come out. You know, we're really just taking our time, and it's good. It feels good. It feels like, wow, we can really just organically, naturally, no rush, just take our time with this thing. And that could be bad too. That could be a bad thing, because sometimes you work better under the gun. You know, sometimes you work a little more instinctually under a deadline. I think really what we want to do is just sharpen our voice, sharpen our perspective and our objective. And I think in that, we need to be harnessing a sense of spontaneity and vulnerability, and just good songwriting, exciting songwriting. Sort of, I just want the record to feel like a living thing. I want it to feel hot to touch. I want it to feel alive and spontaneous and exciting. And that's really hard, especially when it's hard to tell if your records feel that way listening back to them because you're so inside the process.
Yeah, you're completely in there.
You've lost all perspective in a way. You've listened to it a million times. You've meditated. They're working on a song right now over there, and you've just thought about it so intently, and you tried your hardest to keep it instinctual and from the gut and not from the head. So it's hard to listen back to our records and be like, and not hear the trickery, not hear the deadness of digital or of the studio. But I think that's where we always strive to get a little better. Sound more alive. Sound more dangerous and exciting, and just you can close your eyes and see it in your head. You know, you don't see, when you close your eyes, you don't see a studio. You see a concert. You see a show. That's something that's getting lost. Well, that's a good time to stop, I guess. But yeah, essentially that's it.
Well, that was awesome and
Thank you.
very insightful. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.